Now turning to the race for the White House, shutting down the microphones. That's the new rule for Thursday's presidential debate to prevent the constant interruptions we saw at the first debate. Tracy Potts has more from Washington, D.C.
Can answer the question.
Why would you answer that
because
question?
To prevent a repeat of this,
Just radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen.
the Presidential Debate Commission announced they will mute the opponent's microphone during each candidate's 2-minute response at Thursday's debate. The Trump campaign calls the commission biased, changing the rules to provide advantage to their favored candidate, and they're disputing the topics.
We're going to win the state of Arizona.
Polls are now open in 37 states. President Trump reportedly wants to boost his rallies to 5 a day, telling campaign workers.
People are tired of COVID. I have the biggest rallies I've ever had, and we have COVID. People are saying whatever, just leave us alone. They're tired of it.
The Democrats' vice presidential nominee, Senator Kamala Harris, slamming the president in Florida for not listening to scientists.
Denied fact, denied science, and lied to the American people. So we know we need a change, and a change is coming.
Democratic nominee Joe Biden, taking a break before the debate, is warning his team against being complacent. Polls show him ahead by double digits, but tighter in swing states. Coronavirus continues to dominate the campaign.
This is serious. This ain't no joke. It's killing people. All you gotta do is to get to know.
The virus now surging in 38 states, with cases up 10% in the last 2 weeks. And the president is trashing his own infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, calling him a disaster on that campaign phone call. Dr. Fauci says he's troubled by the anti-science attitude in society. He now has personal security after receiving death threats. Tracy Potts, NBC News.